Welcome to the Vetiver Vibes podcast. We're your hosts, Nikki, Rachel, and Rhonda, certified clinical aromatherapists coming to you from Ontario, Canada, and on the internet everywhere.
This episode is brought to you by Essentria, a leading online school for aromatherapy. Essentria is your go-to source for clinical aromatherapy certification programs that are recognized by NAHA and the Canadian Federation of Aromatherapists.
If you want to learn more about Aroma Massage course, check out their website, www.schoolofessentria.com. We're excited that you've given your time to be here with us, knowing you'll get the best essential oil scoop. Hi, welcome to today's episode of Vetiver Vibes. I'm Nikki Fraser, and I'm very excited to be here today with Kenneth Wallace. Dr. Kenny Wallace, Aboa Achihoa, is an African-American Choctaw Pawnee from the United States living in Canada. He holds a doctorate in worship studies from Robert E. Weber Institute for Worship Studies with a focus on Christian contextualization of Indigenous worship. Having spent the past decade plus recovering his Indigenous heritage, he was introduced to herbalism and later aromatherapy. He has since earned his certificate as a clinical aromatherapist studying with Essentria School of Aromatherapy and is a member of the CFA. He runs a holistic healing center with his wife, a registered psychotherapist, called Wallace and Wallace Healing Center, Inc. Together, they integrate psychotherapy and clinical aromatherapy to encourage clients towards wellness. So welcome to today's episode.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We love talking with students and graduates, and especially since you're a graduate, keeping in touch with our past students is something that we love to do, supporting you as much as possible also, and just we love seeing what you're doing with aromatherapy. So today's episode is really just going to be about how you're using it and why you chose us. So maybe you can start with, actually, our first question we always like to ask all of our guests is, what is your favorite aroma or oil?
My favorite oil is copaiba. It comes from a tree down in Brazil, and it's hugely anti-inflammatory. And there aren't any known contraindications or side effects or anything with it. And so it's great for pain. It's great for skin. It's a cannabinoid that's not psychotropic. And so it helps to relax you and calm you down. I love using it personally, and I love using it with clients.
Awesome. I know I've used it often for anxiety and stress also, for that reason. That's great. Thank you. So what made you choose Essentria to go down your path to becoming a clinical aromatherapist?
Yeah. So after I got introduced to essential oils, I was like, you know what? I want to get some more training. I want to learn more about how to use this stuff safely and effectively, right? With folks all over the place. And so I started Googling online for courses on aromatherapy, and I came across a couple different free ones, right? I think Aromahead Institute had a free introductory course. And so after I took the free course, I was like, well, now I'm hooked. So now I got to actually take a course, but I wanted to take one that was in Canada. And so I came across CFA, and Essentria was listed on there. And I chose it because it's 100% online. And so you can do it from anywhere, right?
Yes.
And I travel quite a bit with teaching and whatnot. And so I was able to take my computer with me anywhere and continue to study. And I also like the fact that you all made the effort to put it into English and French. Like
Yes.
at the time I was living in Quebec, and that's huge in terms of reconciliation and things like that. And so you all came out on top, and I was not disappointed.
Oh, good. Yes, it was, having it translated in French was a big thing for me, being French first language. And to me, I was like, I don't even care if we get any students in the French or if we get 10,000 students in the French. It's something important that there's not enough French out there. And I know you took your course in English, and actually we have many students who take it in both English and French. And it's something that was a big passion of mine. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Great. So what did you like most about the course?
the thing I liked most was that it was very personable, might not be the right word, but like for lack of a better term, is very personable, right? So whenever I had an issue or I had a question, I was able to reach out to the three of you, and you graciously answered my question very quickly. Right? You're like, yeah, no, you can't do that, or you might want to check that again. And I think that access, that connection with your peers, it's so important to the success of a student in any course, whatever it is that you're studying. And so that was probably my favorite. But if I could add a second, it would be the fact that the material was presented in a way that anyone really could understand, right? So I got to the chemistry section, and the first thing was like, take a deep breath. It's not that bad, right? Because organic chemistry was what caused me to leave my path as a chemical engineer when I started undergrad. I was like, nope, this is not it. And here I am studying organic chemistry again.
Right.
And it was presented in a very, very good way that anyone could wrap their heads around.
Okay, I know. And that is a concern that many potential and current students often have, is like, they just see aroma chemistry and all of a sudden all these fears come up and walls, and they're like, I don't do chemistry. And I'm one of those people. I remember, chemistry and I don't get along. Math and I don't get along. And this is Rhonda's expertise, and Rhonda is our chemistry guru expert that you can ask her a question and she'll pretty much know it off the top of her head. Because I still need to kind of go back and I'm like, I'm 90% sure it's this, but I'm just going to double check because it is not my strong point. It is, you ask me something about pregnancy and children and safety, I got you. Chemistry is just, it's a foreign language to me. And even now I know it, and it's not my confidence spot, but that's where it's, we love that we each have our strengths. And that is something that we strongly recognize and are not afraid to admit that, that's not my strength, but it's Rhonda's. So she can answer all your questions.
It's community, right? Like it's working in community, right? We shouldn't be out here as lone aromatherapists trying to do things. We consult with each other. And I love that you all facilitated a Facebook group for the students, right? Like to be able to develop community amongst the students and to help each other as well. It's great. It's a fabulous expression, and it only serves to enrich the field.
Yeah, we really wanted a Facebook group for an area for students just to be able to come, ask, collaborate, and just network also. I mean, we always have access to our books also, right? So even when we're with a client, we have our aromatherapy books, we have our stuff with us. So it's a community, it's a group effort, and that's what we want to instill in all of our students too. That's great. Now you took the course, you signed up in January, and you finished the following February. No, sorry. Yes, February. So how did you finish it in 13 months? Because I know that's something a lot of people struggle with. Well, if it's independent, what's going to keep me on task, or how am I going to finish this? And all of those fun questions that come up. So what did you do? And I know this can be different for everybody, but for you personally, what did you do to kind of keep on task, hand in the assignments, and write the exams in that time frame?
I think the biggest thing was intentionality, right? So I made a schedule for myself and said, I want to finish this section by this date. and I tried really to follow that schedule as close as possible. Now, if I did make it or something didn't happen, like I had to have grace for myself, right? But making sure that you have a plan, because if you have no goal, you're gonna hit it every time.
I love that. I've never heard it said that way, and I love it said that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things where you have to set a goal for yourself
Mhm.
and then try to reach it. And that really translates to all of life, right? Like I working on my doctorate, I had a year that I said I have to finish chapter 2 by this year. Well, the same principle applies with this. I mean, it's school, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not, they're not just handing out certifications, right? Like
No,
you
you had to
have
work
to
hard to get yours.
exactly. I also had a study group that I was a part of, and I know that's how you
Okay.
all met, right? Like,
It is. I was wondering if you were in a study group.
I
Not
was,
everyone tells us when, I mean, we often don't know when our students are in study groups. So I love that you were. So how many people were in your study group? Can you talk to us a little bit about how that
yeah.
kind of got together? How often?
There were about 5 of us
Okay.
at the beginning that
Mhm.
joined the group. It came through the Facebook group, right? So
Mhm.
some people were saying, you know what, I need some help to be able to study this stuff or to stay on task. And so we just several of us answered and we set up a Zoom meeting, and it was really like an international event, right? We had folks, and I think there was somebody from like South America,
Mhm.
Florida, and then a couple of people in Canada, all different stages of life, kids, no kids, young, old, and we just really encouraged each other.
Awesome.
Sometimes we did mock case studies. We'd come up with a mock case study, and sometimes it was like chemistry. Like, okay, let's work on this chemistry stuff. But most of the time I would say it was just encouraging each other, right? Like
Mhm.
sharing, what did you learn this week? And oh, you didn't learn anything. Okay, well, try to learn something next week.
Yeah. So
Get back on that.
were you guys at the same spot in the course then? Almost sounds like you weren't.
No, we were
Okay.
all over the place. And so some folks who were further ahead were able to
Mhm.
encourage those of us that were coming behind, and
Oh, I like
vice
that.
versa. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you're almost there. You got it. Keep going, right? Which was really encouraging.
Oh, that's great. Because yeah, the way that Rhonda, Rachel, and I, we were at the same spot as we studied. So we went through
Mm,
together each each of our lessons, and then we would discuss the lesson. So that's another great way of doing it. I just love that. What did you learn this week? Because even anyone who's further ahead in the course, hearing something from someone who, might be learning about botany or something, which is at the beginning, and they might be at the subtle, which is closer to the end. I mean, it's still that refresher. It's like, oh yes, I remember learning about that. And you
right.
can have that conversation still. So absolutely. And then those further ahead, being like, this is what you have looked forward to. And it just keeps you motivated to keep going. I really love that. That's great. So how often did you guys meet?
Uh, Initially, we were meeting once a week, and then some folks started to fall off, and so we ended up going to like twice a month.
Okay.
And, but we were consistent all the way through, and even after I graduated, some of us continued meeting just to practice stuff like
Right.
formulation, right? Like, yeah, it was good.
Right. And you just get in that routine of meeting. And then all of a sudden when they stop, you're like, now what? Like,
Yeah,
I
it's like
still
my
want to practice. I
community.
still want to talk. And it is like, you're talking about something you love, something you're passionate about typically. And so you just want to stay in that nice zone. So that's
Mhm.
awesome that you continued a little bit even after you graduated. It is like also, like you said earlier, of just troubleshooting anything. And I mean, you can always go to the Facebook group too to troubleshoot anything. So sometimes it's just nice to have that conversation of like, hey, this is what I was thinking, da da da. Anything like that would be another great benefit of those.
This break is brought to you by Essentria Aromatherapy School, leading online school of aromatherapy. If you want to use aromatherapy safely with your family, check out the Foundations of Aromatherapy course. Empower yourself with trusted education. Go to www.schoolofessentria.com.
When you did your schedule, did you do it because we offer a schedule at the beginning? Did you base any of it off the schedule from the beginning, or did you just create like your entire schedule on your own?
No, I probably took what was in the course, right? Because when you begin, you don't really know where you're going.
Mm,
Right? I didn't know the breadth of stuff that we were going to study in the course. And so it was helpful to have a skeleton there to say like, okay, here's where we're going. We're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this. And I took that and then I put it into my kind of the way that I do my schedule
yeah.
type of a deal. But it was helpful to have that all laid out for me. You all
Mhm.
have the big picture.
Great, great. So now what I'm curious is about what lesson in the course did you like most?
Oh, wow. Um,
Or which did you find maybe most useful?
oh, definitely the profiles,
Okay.
the essential oil profiles. And there were definitely times where I was like, oh my gosh, can I just get through all of these? But now looking back, I'm like, that was the most useful, right? Because I could
Mhm.
say, oh, I know something that works for blank,
Yeah.
or I'm looking for an ester. I know this oil has, right? Like, and I was one of those who like I went and I downloaded every single
Yeah.
one, and I have a file that was there. And one of the recommendations that you all made as going through that was make an Excel document and to
Yes.
put the information into the Excel document. It was helpful for studying for the exam, but it's also that is my number one tool. Like
Mhm.
when I'm with a client and we're looking to put something together, I open that Excel sheet and I can search
Yep.
and find exactly what I need. Search anxiety, and you get all the 50 oils that need that. And so that was my favorite or the most useful. I
Yeah.
think the one on when it was talking about like the roots of the plant help you feel grounded, and the I forget
Oh, the
what it's called.
morphology.
Morphology, that's right.
Yes.
That was
Blending.
pretty interesting to me.
I love blending that way. I don't do it enough, and I need to go back to it every now and then, but I do. And that's the subtle aspect of aromatherapy and really going deep. It's past the chemistry and it's into this is the plant, this is the energy, this is, how we
Yeah.
can connect, right?
So, I
It's,
mean, like as you read in the bio, like as I've been recovering my indigenous heritage, like that's
mhm,
traditional knowledge that our
mhm.
ancestors like they didn't know that this is a monoterpene that does
Yeah,
X, Y, and
no,
Z. They said this is a root and it's going to purge you.
yeah,
So we're going to use it, right? Like, and that was really cool to see it in this setting, this context. Like, okay, like I'm making these connections,
yeah.
and it was just bringing it full circle for me.
Oh, that's awesome. And like you said, especially as you're diving back deep into your own personal roots, getting back to that. Thanks for sharing that. That was really,
Mhm.
really nice. So now that you've been certified, I know you have your own practice with your wife, which is amazing. And actually, we are in the same town, which makes it even more fun.
Yay!
So, how being certified, how are you finding it being certified? How have you been using your certification?
Yeah. So one of the first things is that people hear CAHP and they're like, he knows what he's talking about.
Mhm.
Right? Like they might not even know what it means. Oftentimes they're like, I don't know what that means. And I explain, right? It's a certified aromatherapy health professional.
Yeah.
But it lends credibility to the field, right? Because anybody can put up a shingle and say they're an aromatherapist. And there are lots of people that do
Mhm.
in various ways, right? But they're not always doing things in an informed manner, right?
Yes.
And so when people see that actually credentialing, there's a level of credibility that is given there. And generally what ends up happening is then they're like, I have a boil on the like, you just kind of cross this line, and then people start
Yeah.
talking about all sorts of things. And you're like, I'm a little awkward right now, but I'm a professional. So yeah, but
That's
people
funny.
feel comfortable asking questions. I feel like that's been the biggest benefit of being credentialed, besides the
Good.
fact that it allows you to run a practice. It allows you to have this network that's connected to folks all over Canada and being recognized in that way. So
nice.
yeah.
And for anyone who doesn't know, so the CHP is specific for the Canadian Federation of Aromatherapists. So if you're a professional member, you get that designation. Our course is also recognized with NAHA. So we have the both recognizations. So anyone who's part of NAHA, you'd be a level 3 aromatherapist. So if you were to join them, you could use the level 3 certified clinical aromatherapist, which is nice. That, you know, because not everyone knows what the CHP stands for, but it's the letters. It's like, as soon as you put, like you said, those letters behind your name, it's credibility. It shows that you've had the dedication to complete a full course on it, not a 20-hour course, but 475 hours. Right. It's not a one day, hey, come over and do like a 9 to 5, and at the end you're a certified aromatherapist. Like there's a lot more work to it. How did you find doing the case studies? It just made me think of that. Because you have 30 case studies on live people to do.
Mm-hmm.
How did you find doing those case studies?
It was a little challenging, I'm not gonna lie, because it was during a crazy season, right? Like where we were in lockdown and you couldn't see people face to face, and so finding people that would be willing to risk telling their story to you. But it was invaluable, right? Like the practice. I mean, I'm still using the basic consent form, right? Like the history
Health
that
history
we had to put together in my practice now. And those skills that you learn really take you from being an aromatherapist to a clinical aromatherapist. Like it moves you into this realm of being a professional.
Absolutely.
And it was good. Some of the case studies worked really well and were easy to do. Some of them were a little more challenging, and but it's that intentionality, and you learn from every mistake, right? So all data is data.
Yeah. And it's not going to work for everybody, right? Just like anything over the counter, anything a doctor gives, or anything that you try for XYZ in your life, right? Every person is so different and unique. And the essential oils that are being used need to be tailored to each specific person and each specific situation that they're going through. I mean, you can have 10 people come to you for anxiety and create 10 different blends and 10 different ways on how to use them. It's, and that's, like you said, that's what brings you into that clinical realm, and not just, here's the certification, here's the theory without any practice behind it or any concrete, like, okay, let's do this. Like, it's getting real now. You actually have to interact with people and do this.
Oh, yeah. And you're right. Like the numbers, if you think about the math, there's 75, actually it's more than that now. Didn't you all add a couple more oils, right? Like
we have 77.
77. Oh, I got to go back and get those extra ones. Right. But so like 77 different oils. If you think about the number of combinations that can come off of 77, it's astronomical. And then you step back and think, like, in the course you only get 77, but there's like 300 some odd oils in the world, and they're still finding new ones. So it's innumerable, the amount of combinations, and that makes sense, since what did we say, we're about to hit 8 billion people in the world,
like that. I
guess like next year it's supposed to be 8 billion. So there's a blend for everybody.
Oh, absolutely. And now that you're certified, you can go out and know where to credibly find information on any oil that we didn't teach you about also. Right. And that's the nice part, is you now know how to find credible resources, credible information, not just as much as, and I mean, everything's on the internet because that's where it is now. So you can't say the internet is an incredible place because that's where everything is, but it's finding those credible places on the internet to go to and find that information.
It's like,
That's
can I
the
look
key
at
part.
the GMC report, GMSD report, and I can say, oh, I know what these chemicals are and what they're supposed to do.
I think that's a great spot to kind of wrap this up. Thank you so much for your time with us today. I would love it if you could share with everyone listening, where can people contact you? Where can they be in touch? All of that information. If anyone wanted to learn more or ask you questions as a student, graduate, learn more about your practice, how you're using aromatherapy, please share.
Sure. Yeah, we're on all the socials: Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, as Wallace and Wallace Healing Center. I spelled center CENTER as an American before I realized, oh wait, I'm in Canada. So make sure you do center ER, but it's Wallace and Wallace Healing Center .ca.com, all the above.
Okay, perfect. Thank you again for joining us. I'm Nikki Fraser here with Kenneth on Vetiver Vibes, the Essential Oil Scoop. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
This episode was brought to you by Essentria, a leading online aromatherapy school. You can join the free Introduction to Essential Oil course at www.schoolofessentria.com.
If you love this episode or you got a lot of value out of it, please make sure you share it with someone in your community who you think will enjoy it too. If you haven't already subscribed or reviewed the show yet, please go over to your preferred streaming platform and hit subscribe, then leave a review. This is the best way to help support us, and we appreciate it. Email us with a screenshot of your review, and you will be entered into our monthly draw for a free mini course.
This podcast is for information purposes only. We are certified clinical aromatherapists and holistic health professionals. If you have a medication concern, please refer to your health team. Everyone's health is unique to themselves, so the topics and suggestions stated may or may not apply to you directly.